Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hello and welcome to Storyboard. This is Shibani Gharat. The number of smartphone devices are increasing, and with that we see an increase in the number of searches and questions about the products that a consumer wants to buy. Hence, the whole purchase journey of a consumer is also getting complex. Igor Liskovets, Director Online to Offline and Call Solutions Google, is taking us through this consumer journey and also telling us how Google is helping consumers navigate this journey. Let's take a look at this chat to find out more.
Igor, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
So we'll talk about the new improved customer journey 2.0.
Yeah.
So tell me, how different is it today than it was even a year ago?
So I think what we're seeing across the world, and I think India is a good example of that, is the number of devices, the number of smartphones is just exploding. So in India, we're now above 300 million devices, going to go to 400 soon. And that means we now have this really smart thing in everybody's pocket. And so it used to be that people only did research for like the high value item. If you buy a car, of course, you're going to do a research.
Right.
But if you're buying a toothbrush, you're not going to do research. You just walk into a store and buy.
Right.
Well, that's changing. What we see is the explosion of searches and research and asking questions around things as simple as what is the best toothbrush to buy.
Right.
And so as a result, the journey is getting a lot more complex.
Right.
So what we're seeing is the customer journey used to be very simple. You either buy online.
Can you sort of go slow on the customer journey?
Yeah.
No, and go step by step and make it easy for dummies to understand.
That's fair. So I think from a customer perspective, it's decision to buy is now influenced by a lot of different steps.
Right.
So you can buy now online. You can buy on your computer. You can buy on your mobile phone, or you can walk into a store where still majority of retail purchases happen today.
Right.
But what influences that purchase? What makes a consumer who comes to the store decide to buy? And what we're seeing in the data is that people are asking on the internet, they're asking a lot more questions around what should I do? What should I buy? So what we see is that footfall to stores is declining in a lot of markets, but the purchase value for each consumer that is coming in is increasing.
Right.
Meaning they come in a lot more prepared
and
to
informed.
make that and informed.
Right.
And so an example of that is like searches near me. So when consumers search for find the best restaurant near me, find the best something. And so the local searches are exploding as a result of people asking now on their mobile devices a question that they normally would have asked their friends. They would say, hey, what is the best place to go buy a laptop?
Sure.
Now they're going to do that research online before coming in.
One of the complexities in India is languages.
Yeah.
You know, so that I can't do an India question without taking languages. How do you handle the language issue? Yeah.
So that's a very important question for us. So we try to bring to Google as much of the diversity and complexity of India as any other market. So we try to incorporate as many languages. Unfortunately, the internet is not quite fully there. So while you can do search in any language, but do you have enough landing pages? Do you have enough information in languages? I think the way we try to tackle it is working together with our advertisers to try to help them understand where their consumers are and to help their consumers, because ultimately it's up to them to create those experiences for consumers that will resonate with that particular consumer, whether it's because of their language or because of the specific things they are looking for.
Right. Obviously, I saw Sundar's keynote the other day, and they talk a lot about what personal assistant is going to do for consumers, especially in the context of small businesses. So carry me through the principle of that in a little more elaborate manner.
So I will start even broader than just small businesses. What we believe is the next evolution of computing and where we want to help consumers is being there when they need it. This help solve problems. So rather than you looking down at your phone and typing a question and waiting for the answer and sorting through links, which is how it used to be, people are busy, people are on the go, and we want to, with machine learning, help answer the questions when they pop up. So anything from I want to put a list to remind myself to do something, to I want to purchase something, to I want to research, to I want to do something else. And so The idea is that we want to power through the assistant our future of really machine being helpful. I don't feel today, as much as I love my mobile phone, our mobile phones are that helpful yet.
Right.
Because they don't understand us fully. They require a lot of input from us. And I think what we are working on and what Sundar is kind of, and it works for small businesses and it will work for big businesses as well, is trying to make machines that fully understand us and is helpful and it's there in the background to help us answer the questions that we need. Going back to the question you asked about consumer journey, that I think is going to be an important part of a consumer journey, whether it's somebody doing kind of initial research, or whether it's somebody who wants a reminder, or whether it's somebody who wants better understand about a new problem that they have. So machine learning combined with kind of this assistant that is ever present for the consumer will be very, very helpful for consumers to really take advantage of all of the technologies that is out there.
Right. One of the problems peculiar to India, I would imagine, is that you'll find a lot of the newcomers to smartphones able to speak and hear and understand, but not read and write.
Yeah.
So, what are you going to do to address that issue?
So so we are very this is a big priority for Google, is really get the voice recognition, continue to improve. We're already doing a great job, but it's getting it to other languages. You know, we talked about 22 languages in India. How do you get to all of the languages and having a computer to understand the machine, understand them and translate back? Voice search in general has been growing very, very well across the world. And so it's the idea is that we will have through Assistant and where you can ask a question and get a human type answer rather than here's the 10 choices. And that's exactly what consumers, whether that because they don't read or write or because they don't have time driving or something else to answer that question.
One of the challenges for you is the landing pages that you spoke about.
Yeah.
Because that's part of the essential part of the ecosystem.
Yeah.
So in India, for example, in 22 languages, are you going to have the language landing pages so that the customer's needs are fulfilled? And who's going to drive that growth?
So we work a lot with advertisers. So I think this is where you have to think about kind of large advertisers that want to create their own experience. And with them, yes, we're working on creating their own landing pages. Mobile speed is very important, and we work on them to create in a mobile-enabled pages that will work for consumers. But if you think for a small mom and pop shop that want to have a presence on the internet, they don't have time to put in their mobile site in 22 languages. I think that's a kind of problem we want to solve as Google. How do we know what consumer wants and how do we enable that? So we already have Google Translate that automatically enables in a lot of pages. You can imagine doing that very easily through Google Assistant. If you speak in a language, why wouldn't we be able to translate all the answers into that same language and speak back to you in the language that you prefer versus the language that it was written in? Again, this is still kind of a promise of a technology. Today, I think some of the translation will be a little bit clunky and sometimes don't sound like a human, but I think that's where the technology is going. Again, the goal of technology, in our opinion, is to be in the background. It's not to be these things that you focus on. What you should focus on is answering the questions every one of us has, and technology is just simply a tool that enables that answer.
Yeah. Now to make this whole conversation a little more earthy, you're in India and you've done some work with Shopper Stop.
We did.
In this area, so if you carry me through how Shopper Stop's consumers benefit from what you've done.
Excellent. So for Shopper Stop, e-commerce is a very important growth area. But e-commerce by itself is not connected to their offline experience. So what I mean by that, how do you understand what people actually do and where do you give media credit? Because it's not just about credit, it's about understanding where do you put the right messages for the consumers. And so Shopper Stop knows that a lot of sales occur, most of their sales occur still in store. What influences those purchases? Back to the consumer journey, right?
Absolutely.
Where do they start? Where do they go? So we have a product now called Store Visits. We've launched this product in about 19 markets or 20 markets now across the globe. And what it does, it enables advertisers to better understand their consumer journey. How many people who clicked on their ads or saw their ads on YouTube, what percentage of them ended up in their stores? Again, it's not about individual consumers and saying, did I end up in a store? It's saying, what trends are we seeing? So we partnered with Shopper Stop on understanding that consumer journey. And because of that, they're able to better understand the ROI they're getting from their online investment to actually people coming into the store, which enables them to produce better messages online so they understand what kind of, you can do A/B experiments, for example, understanding does a creative one, thinking old advertising, does creative one drive more people or does creative two? We now have the technology tools to enable that. So we work with ShopperStop with this kind of technology to better understand the ROI and better understand the investments they're making and how to improve those investments with Google.
Right. And now I want to tell you, with all this data that you have, how do you help the creative community create the messaging that is required to, shall we say, drive the customer to a particular business or otherwise?
So that's a wonderful question. I think we're just starting on this journey because the print media, for example, which is very big in India, have had decades of experience on how do you build a good creative. What is a good creative that actually going to get you to go to a car dealership this weekend or go to ShopperStop this weekend? Online, it's very new. And so we are partnering closely with agencies, we're partnering closely with clients to try to educate and work with them together to saying, how do we do more experimentation? How do we try different things and understand what actually influences people to go to the store? And what's different about online is this idea of audiences as well. That while in a print you put an ad together for a wide variety of users, online you can tailor the message a lot more. If you know that you are targeting users for a specific product, you can tailor a message to that. But I think the ecosystem is still very early on in that. And so a lot of times what we see, advertisers still put an ad that is primarily meant for kind of the print media. They put it on a mobile device, which is a lot smaller, doesn't render as well, and they don't get necessarily the result they want. And so what we want to work with our partners around the agency community and clients is how do you create better creatives and how do you test? And through the things like store visits, be able to actually say, does it work better? Does it actually drive more people to the store? And that will create many more better ads in the kind of years to come.
Right. And the final question now, the marketer is bombarded by a lot of inputs,
for sure,
including inputs from you. And then he's got his agency, then he's got his media agency, he's got his digital agency, he's got his social agency. All of them are telling him perhaps different things at the same time. So what would you advise a marketer to do in this situation like this?
I think the first thing I would do before kind of what Google or any other provider is I would say, am I thinking about the customer journey? Back to what we started. Am I thinking of my channels as separate things, or do I think about my consumer? If I treat e-commerce, if I'm a marketeer, e-commerce separate from my stores, and I don't have a joint KPIs between them, then I'm not really thinking about that consumer who wants to choose between different channels, and sometimes will buy in one and sometimes in the other. That's where it starts. If you combine the KPIs, if you create an omni-channel KPI, then as a marketeer, you start asking the right questions of providers, whether it's Google, whether it's Facebook, whether it's anybody else, because you will understand what you actually want. What you want is get that one single consumer the right information at the right time, and then that consumer will make whatever choice they want to do, whether it's purchase on a mobile phone or walk into your store or do research or whatever else.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Igor.
Thank you.
And
Thank you
look forward to seeing you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.